Okay guys, so this is the second week of doing the blended learning tasks. We are going to carry on again with the Get the Balance Right unit. As before guys, if you're in a cover lesson, you will watch this just now and then complete the worksheet at the end, which will get put on the board for you. If you are not in the school during a HE lesson this week, then you will watch this if you want to. You can read through the slides, whichever is easiest, and then attempt the worksheet and hand it in through Teams. Okay, so make sure by the end of the week, whether in class or at home, you've watched these slides and you have completed the worksheet. Okay, hopefully it's gone okay so far from last week. If you had any questions guys, remember you can email me, you can send me a message. And if you need drop-in sessions, just let me know and I'm quite happy to arrange a drop-in session for classes. Hopefully this has been going okay. If you have any questions, let me know, but we'll just get started, and as per before, you can just let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so we're going to carry on with the Get the Balance Right, the Eatwell guide. This time we are looking at, it's quite a long title for this one, okay, it's beans, pulses, fish, eggs and meats. You might hear me talking about protein foods. It's the easiest way to shorten that name just while I'm talking through this, guys, okay? So, as before, you should be able to name the foods in this group, name the main nutrient you get from this food group, and describe why the body needs these foods, okay? So for your lesson starter, we're going back a wee bit, it's just another fruit and vegetable task. Again, this will be on the worksheet for you, so you don't have to do it on the slides or anything, it will be on the worksheet. If you're working in class, guys, you can do it in Jotter on a piece of paper. Same at home, you can do it on a piece of paper and take a picture of it or put it on a Word document if you like. Okay, so all we have here is we've got a word scramble. So all of these are fruits and vegetables, and you have to correctly identify them by muddling them back up again to unscramble the words. Okay, so there's 8 of them there, so there'll be 8 different fruits or vegetables that you need to identify from those scrambled up words. Okay, Eatwell guide here, just another recap guys. We've got the fruit and vegetable section we've already looked at. Potatoes, bread, rice, pasta and other starchy carbohydrates. Okay, our starchy foods, we looked at that last time as well. That's 2/3 of our Eatwell guide. Now remember, the Eatwell guide is not per plate or per meal, it is your daily diet, okay? So a third of your diet per day is fruit and vegetables, third of your diet per day is your starchy foods, and then the remaining third is going to be these sections down here, okay? So one of the ones we're looking at today is the beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat and other proteins. So you can see that's significantly smaller than the other sections, alright? Dairies and alternatives we'll come to next week, and oils and spreads again we'll get to as well. We'll also take a wee look further down the line at waters and liquids and foods that are high in salt, fat and sugar. Okay, but this one here, the pink section, is our priority today. So again, big long name, beans, pulses, fish, eggs and meat and other proteins. Okay, so if you're asking questions or you're labeling anything guys, please try your best to remember as many of those as you can. Don't just write protein foods, alright, but try your best to try and get as much of that in as you can. But we do call them the protein foods, okay, because that's the main thing we get from them, okay? So protein foods are foods which usually come from animals, however they can also come from plants. So we've got 2 types of protein, we've got animal and we've got plant. Animal protein is the one that you tend to get it from, but you can also get it from certain plants. Now you've maybe heard of protein before. It's quite a common thing that you maybe heard about in terms of sports and athletes, always talking about protein, and quite often they end up having something called a protein powder or a protein shake. Now these are not advised in a normal healthy diet, okay? You should be getting your protein from your foods, alright? But as an athlete, okay, particularly professional athletes, they will have their healthy balanced diet, but then they might need a wee bit of extra boost in terms of protein to keep them going and keep them fit and healthy. And we'll look at all the functions of protein in a wee minute. So you might hear about special powders and drinks and stuff. They should not be taken as a normal healthy way to get protein, guys. That's just an additional thing that athletes sometimes have, okay? So if you're asked about a source of protein, please don't put anything about protein drinks or protein shakes or protein powder, because that's not part of a normal healthy diet. That's not what you should be looking at, Okay, so just to clarify on that one. So the foods that we actually do get protein from, we've got our animal protein, we've got our plant protein. So animal protein is going to be the flesh from the animal, so the animal meat, and also products that we get from the animal. So in those examples, something like chicken, beef, pork, the actual meat from the animal, or the animal products, you can get things like milk, eggs, cheese obviously will come from the milk as well. So anything that has been made either from the animal meat or from an animal-based product. Plants, okay, plants obviously it's a bit trickier. Plants, it's just the plant itself. You've probably heard of corn and tofu. Those are made from a mycoprotein, which we'll have a quick look at in a minute. But you definitely heard of lentils, you'll heard of nuts and beans as well. Those are all really good examples if you're looking at plant proteins. Animal tends to be the easier one to remember, but see if you remember a couple of these plant ones, guys, then that'll help you along when you're asked about either animal or plant protein. Okay. So just a quick slide about what corn is. Okay, so you've probably heard about corn. Athlete Mo Farah, he endorsed it for a while. Probably, I'm not sure whether he still does it, but he endorsed it for a long time because that was a big part of his diet. So it's made from something called a mycoprotein, which is it's basically a plant. Okay, it's a plant or a fungus that is grown, and it's used as a meat substitute. So it's suitable for vegetarians, and a lot of the corn products now are suitable for vegan as well, because they're trying to avoid using animal products. So it's a meat substitute. It's got lots of proteins, really good for protein, but one of the extra benefits is it's low in fat. One of the issues with animal proteins is they're usually quite high in saturated fat, bad fat. So we need to make sure that we're using things that have low fat in them, okay? There's loads of different products for corn now. There's there's corn mince, there's corn sausages, there's corn burgers, corn pieces that are used to replicate chicken, and they're all used using different flavors and colors to improve the taste and make it taste similar to different products. Okay, so there's loads of those available, and they're a really good source of protein that is low in fat. Okay, so in terms of a bit more information, protein foods, smaller portions, so we saw that from our Eatwell guide section. It's a smaller portion of the diet, so don't go overboard with your meat. You should still have way more fruit and vegetables and starchy foods than you do meat. Like everything else, you should have a different variety of these foods, so mix it up. Don't just have all meat, have some animal and plant proteins. And we've already said there, animal and meats can be high in fat, so choose low fat versions or healthier ways of cooking. So that could mean grilling your food instead of frying it, or if you're looking at low fat versions, chicken is a much lower fat content than things like beef and pork. Okay, kind of linked with that as well, red meat like beef has been linked to an increase of risk of cancer. And same with processed foods. Now processed foods, we're talking about things like sausages and burgers, things that are quite far away from the original piece of meat that it started as. So they've all been increased, they all increase your risk of cancer, so make sure you reduce how much you're having of that. So chicken is always a better option when you're talking about meat, guys. You should also have 2 portions of fish every week, okay? So when we talk about portions of fish, it needs to be healthy fish, okay? It can't just be your fish and chip shop fish, because that is very bad for you with all the oils. It says one of them should be an oily fish. Now when we talk about oily fish, we're talking about the healthy oily fish that naturally have oil in them, but it's not a bad oil, it's just naturally from the fish. So that includes salmon, tuna, sardines, anchovies and trout. And all 5 of those are deemed oily fish. If it's not one of those 5, it's not an oily fish, okay? So obviously the most common ones tend to be tuna or salmon. So 2 portions of fish a week, and at least one of those should be one of those oily fish, okay? So we've already looked at this then, so we've finished up fruit and vegetable section for a third of your Eatwell guide. We've finished up the starchy food section for another third, and then we've just finished a little pink section for our beans, pulses, fish, eggs and meat and other proteins, okay? So like I said, guys, look at the difference in the size of the proportions. It is significantly smaller than your fruit and vegetables and starchy foods, okay? Task 2 is on your worksheet, guys. Nice simple one. just name the foods again. Okay, so I'd imagine most of you can identify most of those. This one on the end here is a slightly trickier one, but I'll give you a clue. It is a plant protein. Okay, so have a wee think about what we talked about with plant proteins, if I've talked about any examples, and that you might be able to identify that one. Okay, so have a wee go at that on your worksheet in a minute. Okay, so why do we actually need to eat meat, fish, eggs, beans, foods like that? We've already said that we get protein from them. Okay, so protein is one of our nutrients that we get from these foods. And we also get something called minerals. Now, we won't look into minerals very much, guys, okay? The minerals in general are there to help fight disease and develop healthy blood. There's a couple of different types of minerals that you'll look at next year, but we don't need to go into too much detail at the moment. What we're most focused on is the protein, okay? So protein is used to help the body grow and repair, alright? So that's what we're going to look at. So protein, every cell in the human body needs protein, whether it's your heart, your brain, even the fat cells need protein, okay? So protein allows our body cells to grow and develop, alright? You'll learn about cells in biology, but as a body, every part of our body is made up of a cell, and every single one of those cells needs protein to grow it and to keep it going and develop it, alright? So protein is essential for life, realistically, guys. In terms of what it's needed for, there's three things: growth, repair and maintenance of all of those different cells. Okay, so if we have a quick look into what we actually mean by that. If we're talking about growth, all body cells need to grow and develop. Okay, so as you grow, your cells grow. So you need to make sure that you've got that protein there. Repair is going to fix any damage to the cells. So if you get a cut or a bruise or anything like that, that's where the cells have been damaged. So you need to fix that. And then maintenance is just another way of saying keeping on top of the day-to-day wear and tear of the cells being used. Okay, so as you use your cells, they're going to get worn out, they're going to get used. So maintenance is what we call the process of keeping those cells up to a standard that they can keep working. Okay. So the last part, guys, is just finish off the worksheet. So you've already done the unscramble the words task, you've done the name the food task. There's one more question and a wee word search on that worksheet that you're going to do as well. Okay, now I'll just quickly go over the extension task for anybody that wishes to attempt it at home. This week it's a lentil soup. Okay, so that's your kitchen routine again, guys. And in terms of what we need to do, you've already explained why the body needs protein. You're focusing on safe and hygienic preparation of your vegetables and the difference between a boil and simmer. Now, when you make a soup, guys, if you boil a soup, then it's going to get dry, it's going to turn into a paste, and it's going to potentially burn. So we'll look at just a reminder of the difference between boil and simmer shortly. So our top tips: make sure you put your water on to boil at the start. If it's not boiling, it's going to take forever to get boiled. And for a soup, make sure you use the measurement it asks, okay? So it's not like rice and pasta where you just fill up the water because you're going to drain it at the end. You need the measurement to be right, okay? Rinse your lentils, okay? So if you rinse your lentils are coated in this kind of, basically when they boil, if you've not rinsed them, it can end up quite sticky and starchy and cloudy, alright? So just give them a quick rinse before you put them in the pot. Remember your hob safety, there's a slide to go over that shortly. Correct chopping positions as before, okay? If you're looking at the onion, root and shoot, or if you were in my class you might have talked about the little man with his hair. We'll have a look at a picture of an onion in a second just to go through that. Keep your chopping board clear, so any peelings go in the basket. Peel away from your fingers, so when you're peeling, remember, peel away from your fingers and your hand, make sure that they're out of the way. When you're grating, I mean, you're going to be grating a carrot on this one, guys, so it's a bit tougher than cheese, so you might have to push a bit firmer to get the carrot through the grater, but that means you're more likely to catch your fingers if you're not careful, alright? So just use the techniques we've done before. Give the soup a good stir regularly, okay? The lentils like to try and stick to the bottom of the pot, so once they're in the pot with the lentils, every couple of minutes or so, just give it a quick stir just to make sure they're not sticking. And if you see your soup getting too dry, so the water's all gone away, it's kind of going almost like a paste or anything like that, just add some more water, but make sure it's boiling water, otherwise again it'll take forever for it to come back up to the boil. And I would turn down the heat because chances are you've had it too high if you've run out of water. Okay. There's your knife safety again, guys, don't need to go back through that. Hob safety, just a reminder, handles in over the counters so that you don't end up knocking them over. Preferably do this on the back of the hobs, okay, to reduce any risk of scalds and burns. Make sure you got your pot stand so you don't burn anybody's counter, and remember to turn everything off when you are finished, okay. Just a reminder of boiling versus simmering. Boiling, look at the big bubbles, guys, the whole thing's moving. You can do that at the beginning when you start to boil your water, but see, once you start putting your ingredients in, we're going to go down to a simmer, so we're going to turn the heat much lower, and we're just looking for these tiny wee bubbles around the bottom of the surface, okay. Picture of an onion, you can see the difference between the root and the shoot, guys. So this is the root end down the bottom, a very dark bit down the bottom. You get those kind of, there's a clearer picture on the next slide, guys, but you get the kind of brown strands that come off the root. The stem, or the shoot in this case, it's one single piece. It's made of the same kind of texture as the actual skin of the onion, okay, and it's usually one piece, and it's quite obvious normally which one's the root and which one's the shoot. This one's a clearer picture from the root end, okay. You can see that dark section here, and you can see all the wee brown bits coming off the end, and that's where we talk about the little man with his hair, because it looks like little strands of hair, okay. I won't play the videos, guys, okay, there's no point in me playing the videos for you. If just watch them when you get a chance, whether you're cooking or not. It's always good to have a wee look at these videos, guys. So that'll go over how to dice the onion, and then you've got a video on how to grate the carrot as well. And like I said, guys, there's nothing tricky about grating a carrot. It's just a bit firmer than the cheese, obviously, so you just need to be a bit extra careful when you're grating, okay. So as before, guys, any questions, you can give me an email, you can give me a wee message, you can ask for a drop-in session if you need to. If you're in cover lesson just now, you'll get the worksheet put up on the board for you, and either in the jotter or on a piece of paper, you will complete the questions. It's okay, as long as it's okay with the cover teacher, you can discuss with people as long as you're maintaining your social distancing, okay. If you're at home, guys, just off you go, get that worksheet, do it on the worksheet online or on a piece of paper and take a picture and just submit it on Teams for the end of the week, okay. So any questions, let me know, guys, and good luck with the worksheet.